Welcome to the show, Dan Geltrude. Dan, everybody wants to make it all better, all faster, everything's fine, nothing to see, move along. But I don't think you can do that with the psyche of the investor. I think that something changed last week, and I think the market's frail and maybe even a little bit fragile, too. What do you think?
I do think it's fragile. And I think when you look at this overall and Jamie Dimon's comments about recession, I think recession is a real possibility. But whether we call it a recession or not, that word to most people feels that things are not going so well economically. And I think because of inflation, most people are feeling that way. So I think what happened last week is all of a sudden, Wall Street woke up to what Main Street has been saying for like the last 3 years. The stock market and the economy are different things. We follow the stock market so carefully that we automatically have this mindset to say, well, if the stock market is going up, then the economy is doing okay. Well, not so fast. Americans are hurting, and I think that message got through last week. Now, of course, Scott, it seems like it was temporary. So the U.S. economy is fragile, and it's subject to a lot of variables. And I'll give you one specific right now. What's going on in the Middle East? The way that conflict turns, Scott, could have an enormous impact on the global economy.
I couldn't, yeah, exactly right. That's definitely a big one out there. But also, maybe I'm crazy and, tell me what you think about this, though. What I don't like about it is, Dan, since 2008, if you look at a chart going back to 1970, when it looks at, just use the S&P, you can tell since 2008 that market goes straight up because the Fed became very ultra accommodative, okay? They're just not going to let the market go down, and I can't stand that. And so we've already been talking about 3 rate cuts or 2 50 basis point rate. I mean, everybody's talking about, again, once again, we're going to treat the symptoms. We're not going to treat the illness. There is an illness, and it just seems to me so disingenuous. I mean, as a stockbroker, if you got a customer that's got at least a 3-year time horizon, you just have to lay back in your chair and smoke a cigar and go, just buy the market. They're not going to let it go down. That's not that hard of a job. I mean, if you make a mistake and pick a company and buy stock in it that goes out of business, well, yeah, that might happen every now and again. But generally speaking, this Fed has not let the stock market go down. That's not right.
That's very true. And you have two pieces here in that the U.S. economic prosperity, as well as what happens in the stock market, should not be so reliant upon the Fed.
Right.
The Fed's job is not supposed to be the backstop for any little drop that happens in the market or you get some bad economic numbers. Everyone starts screaming, we need a rate cut. And all of a sudden, the percentages start going up, the likelihood of a rate drop in September, or how about this? We need a rate drop before the next meeting.
Right.
We can't wait that long.
I mean, they're calling for emergency rate cuts the first time we have a 5% sell-off in the stock market. And I think that really just takes away from the validity of that. But you know what? They're going to be right because the Fed's not going to let it go down. And so I'm the idiot because I can see what's going on here, and you don't jump on for the ride because I'm afraid you're not going to know when they're going to stop doing what they're supposed to be doing. Because look, there's too many things out there, $35 trillion in debt, all the things wrong with credit card loans, home loans, evictions, you name it, up and down the gamut. There's so much bad news out there. And then we get a little tweak in the jobs numbers last 2 Fridays ago, and suddenly the wheels fall off this thing. And then we're going to be calling for 3 or 4 or 5 rate cuts by the end of the year. I mean, to me, it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and I'll tell you right now, Scott, if you really want to attack what's causing inflation and the reason why it's so sticky, it's because of government spending.
1,000%.
It's that simple. The government is funding all of this, so that's why all the prices are up. When the government stops spending and lets literally the U.S. economy flow on its own, it will right itself, I promise you.
Yep.
But we're never going to find that out, Scott.
No, I just got done speaking in middle America, middle of Indiana, and somebody raised their hand and said, how are we going to put an end to this? What's it going to be? I said 2 things. Number one, that the government has to stop spending. And then yesterday, they can't spend another dollar All right. And number two is we got to get rid of some of these entitlements, or at least shave them, because we can't afford them either. And if you can do those two things, we're on the path to success. But they're both totally 100% unelectable. So you're right. They ain't happening. Thanks for being on, Dan. I totally agree with you. Dan Geltrude coming to us from Nutley, New Jersey. Thanks for being on the show. See you again next